Storming a fortified position is one of the most dangerous tasks in war. In this video, we explain the key principles behind a successful attack, based loosely on a US military manual written in 1811 by Brigadier General Epiphanius Hoyt, whose insights will guide us through the challenge. In Hoyt's day, the United States had very few fully fortified towns of the kind common in Europe. Instead, the fortified outpost formed the backbone of defense. These posts were quick to build and relatively inexpensive, which was an important advantage on a frontier where settlement lines were constantly shifting. As new territory opened up, forts and fieldworks went up alongside it, forming a growing network of strongpoints that provided strategic control and protected infrastructure. If you wanted to take a fortified post, there were basically two options. The first was a regular siege, which involved digging approach trenches and slowly advancing toward the fort. This was time-consuming and labor-intensive, so it was typically only used when there was no other alternative. The second option was the assault, or coup de main. Here, the goal was to surprise the enemy and overrun them with force. While it was risky, it was often the preferred method, because it could be very effective when done properly. In this practical guide, we'll show you exactly what to watch out for when assaulting a fortified outpost. The first step in any assault is always to know your target. Plans, eyewitness accounts, and careful observation through a telescope can all be useful. The most important step, however, is to scout the defenses in person. A small team of men should closely examine the fort, perhaps by disguising themselves as harmless visitors. These scouts must be completely reliable, as a wrong assessment can be worse than none at all, and in this kind of operation, potentially fatal. Based on the scouts' findings, the officers then draw a detailed plan of attack. There's no one-size-fits-all method, and no set of rigid instructions to follow. The plan must take into account the circumstances and available resources, especially the strength of the defenders, the number of troops on hand, and the layout of the fort's surroundings. A great deal also depends on the commander's ability to seize opportunities as they arise. As a general rule, you should never attack a fortress from just one side. If you do, the defenders can concentrate their forces there, making your job much harder. It's better to stage 2 or 3 feints, forcing them to spread their men across the defenses. The real attacks should focus on the fortress' weakest points, usually the protruding angles. Once the plan is finalized, it must be approved by the Commander-in-Chief and coordinated with the overall strategy. The Commander-in-Chief also decides who will lead the assault. The man chosen for command, usually an experienced officer, must assess the situation and study the attack plan in detail. Then comes the selection of his men. The rule here is simple: quality before quantity. A coup de main only works if it's quick, surprising, and silent, and that's only possible with carefully chosen troops. The commander must pick the bravest and most determined volunteers, good soldiers who are healthy, obedient, and disciplined. Even a minor illness can jeopardize the operation, as a cough or sneeze could immediately alert the enemy that someone is nearby. Once troops are selected, the officer inspects them thoroughly. Weapons and equipment must be in perfect order and fixed carefully, so no rattling bayonets or other noise gives away the approach. Next, the soldiers take up the necessary entrenching tools alongside their personal weapons. If the enemy is behind an earthen breastwork, this means shovels and pickaxes. If it's a palisade or timber entrenchment, axes are required, and if the rampart is made of stone or wood, ladders are needed to get over them. Once equipped, the men are divided into groups, one for each direction of attack, plus a reserve. Each group is led by an officer, a few capable non-commissioned officers, and a guide with local knowledge. The guide is vital, as the success of the entire plan depends on them. So it's essential to choose only courageous, loyal men who are truly up to the task, not just motivated by a reward. Before we continue, we'd like to thank our sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever created.
and is available for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. Take command of more than 2,500 tanks, aircrafts, helicopters, and ships from 10 nations, ranging from classical biplanes and armored vehicles of the 1920s to modern jets and main battle tanks. Every vehicle is recreated in incredible detail, making War Thunder the perfect game for military history fans looking for authenticity. Jump into breathtaking player versus player battles featuring both historical and modern vehicles, complete with immersive sound design, realistic graphics, and immersive damage models, and compete alongside more than 95 million players worldwide. If you're simply looking for fast, fun gameplay, War Thunder has you covered with its accessible arcade mode. Download War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices via the links in the description. New players, as well as returning players who have been inactive for at least 6 months, will receive a special bonus pack across PC and consoles that includes several premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor decal, 100,000 Silver Lions, and a 7-day premium account. Available for limited time only.
Special care must be taken with foreign guides, as the enemy might have bribed or blackmailed them into leading your men into an ambush. During the attack, they should be kept separate from the main force, with a non-commissioned officer keeping close watch. The same caution applies to deserters, who are often untrustworthy. Those who betray once may do so again. If you must use them as guides, they should be restrained and guided by a rope, especially during night operations, under the supervision of a non-commissioned officer. Once the guides have been chosen, the commander must question them thoroughly to ensure they know the terrain and the attack plan by heart. It's especially important that they understand where the other units are and when they're supposed to move to avoid the risk of friendly fire. Before the attack begins, the commanding officer assembles the selected men. He explains the plan of attack, revealing only what is necessary, sets a code word to distinguish friend from foe in the dark, and reminds them of the importance of their mission. They are about to undertake a delicate operation and bear significant responsibility. At this stage, the commander should remind them that he has the authority to execute anyone who refuses an order on the spot. If he questions their loyalty, he can even bring their families into the camp as hostages to ensure compliance. Once the men have been sworn in, it is time to advance. The two most important factors in a successful assault are surprise and speed. The attacking force should set out at dusk and approach the fortifications under cover of darkness, preferably in bad weather, when people are likely to stay indoors. This minimizes the chance of being spotted, which is crucial at this stage. Avoiding detection is the absolute priority. For this covered march, as it is also called in military jargon, an extended marching order works best. Riders should scout the terrain in pairs well ahead of the main force to detect obstacles or potential ambushes. A mounted vanguard and flanking troops must also be ready to fend off counterattacks or intercept enemy scouts before they can warn the defenders. Open areas should be avoided, houses, hamlets, and villages circled widely. Even a barking dog or a man stepping out behind a building to relieve himself could give away the column's approach. The behavior of soldiers can pose serious risks during the march. For example, riders may be lulled to sleep by the swaying of their horses. A danger that must be prevented, as a drowsy rider losing control can create noise and break formation, potentially giving away the advance. In addition, the men are strictly forbidden to smoke, talk, or cough. If a man must cough or spit, he should cover his mouth to muffle the sound. If the army reaches the enemy post undetected, the commander sets everything in motion. He musters the troops into their attack groups, gives the final orders, and then signals them to advance. Each group moves into its designated position and waits for the signal to strike. After this final stage, remaining undetected is absolutely critical. The men should lie down and remain motionless. If an enemy patrol approaches, they must silently withdraw and let them pass. If spotted, they must react instantly, neutralizing the patrol as quietly as possible with knives, bayonets, or musket butts. If enemy scouts raise the alarm, the element of surprise is lost and the chances of success drop sharply. The officer must make a split-second decision, either call the men back or push the attack immediately, giving the defenders no time to arm themselves. If he gives the signal to move, the assault begins. Once the assault begins, the soldiers' first task is clearing the way to the fortifications. Defensive obstacles such as chevaux de frise should be broken through or torn down with axes. The same goes for barricades of branches, abatis and undergrowth, which can be set on fire if dry enough. If they choose to burn obstacles, the men must be careful not to linger in the glow of the flames, or risk becoming targets of the defenders' marksmen. If buildings like watchtowers or blockhouses are in the way, the most effective method is to toss burning bundles of resin-soaked brushwood through the windows or embrasures to set them on fire. If that fails, an improvised battering ram made from a wagon or a large tree trunk can be used to smash open doors. The biggest challenge is clearing a passage without wasting too much time. Taking too long gives the defenders time to react, while working too hastily can prevent the men from advancing effectively. In general, it's best not to be overly perfectionist. Obstacles can rarely be completely removed without giving away the attack. The noise will inevitably alert the defenders sooner or later. Luckily, many outposts lack extensive defenses. The key is to approach silently yet quickly, closing the distance before the enemy even knows you're there. The men on the front line are responsible for clearing obstacles, carrying their muskets in one hand and a shovel or pickaxe in the other. As soon as they reach the trench, they must jump straight in, as the defenders are less likely to hit them there. But caution is essential. Once the first men are down the slope, those following must avoid impaling their backsides on their comrades' bayonets, risking putting themselves out of action, or at least suffering a very memorable wound. As soon as the line of fire is clear, the men farther back unleash a steady hail of bullets at the defenders, forcing them to take cover behind the breastwork. This gives the front line some cover as they begin digging zigzagging approach trenches into the embankment and clearing away the abatis often installed there. Now every minute counts. As soon as there's a gap wide enough for a few men to move through side by side, they signal their comrades to push forward. If the fort has a wet mode, things get a bit more complicated. In that case, the men must bring fascines, bundles of brushwood or branches, and throw them into the water side by side to construct a makeshift bridge. Of course, there are other ways to fill a moat, but this is by far the quickest and simplest. If the defenders have wooden palisades or a wall, the attackers can't just charge in, they need ladders. Because ladders are bulky and unwieldy, the strongest men should carry them, slipping the left arm through the second rung and resting the ladder on the shoulder, keeping it upright to prevent it from catching on anything. As soon as the path to the base of the wall is clear, the ladder carriers follow the first line into the trench, cross it and place the ladders against the wall side by side. They must take care to set them close together at the right angle, not too steep and not too flat, so the defenders can't easily push them away. An attack has the greatest chance of success when multiple ladders are placed simultaneously from several sides, overwhelming the defenders. As soon as the path is clear and the ladders are in place, the assault begins. The goal is to get a few men onto the wall. Just one or two can be enough to hold back the defenders and create space for those following behind. To achieve this, as many soldiers as possible must climb at once, swords drawn and bayonets ready. If a man is wounded or falls, the one behind him cannot stop to help. Instead, he must quickly get down between the ladders, then immediately take his place. If you succeed in surprising the enemy, the attack is almost as good as won. If not, the walls must be cleared by force, with hand grenades being the most effective method. While some men stay back to draw the defenders' fire, those in the trench bombard the top of the wall with grenades. The key is timing. They must detonate at the same moment, simultaneously disabling as many defenders as possible and giving the men at the front a chance to get over the parapet. Once that happens, the defenders lose their greatest advantage. If they still refuse to surrender, they can now be overwhelmed with relative ease. If you follow this guide to the letter, you can quickly take nearly any fort, village or outpost. Since we're confident you'll find this practical advice useful, we hope you'll consider sharing the spoils. Details on how to support us on Patreon can be found in the description below. Don't forget to check out our coloring book if you're interested in our artwork. Finally, a word of caution. Use this knowledge responsibly and refrain from attacking villages, field fortifications, or other outposts unless absolutely necessary. Finally, thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Sign up now by using the links in the description and start playing on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile. New and returning players inactive for at least 6 months can claim the exclusive bonus package across PC and consoles for a limited time.